time. It's our time, my friends. Time for millions of maturepreneurs, 55 plus, who are hashtag not done by a long shot, to revolutionize how we lead, do business, and innovate our world. I'm your host, Jeanette Anderson, and welcome to my conversations with fascinating people who would rather inspire than retire. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Maturepreneur podcast. Today, I have the fascinating Renee Oswald with me. Hi, Renee, and welcome.
Hi, Jeanette. How are you?
I am peachy, and I'm excited to talk to you about how we can actually make real changes using hypnotherapy and how we can actually overcome limiting habits, because I know that's a big thing for a lot of people, even at this age and stage of life. So glad you're here. I'm going to tell you Renee's official intro and information about her. Then we'll find out some juicy tidbits from behind the scenes. And then we're going to launch into talking about how do we really change and what tools can we use to help us do that. So Renee is a certified hypnotherapist. She's worked with people to change their life through hypnosis and to become whom they want to be. People get stuck in a story that they do not know how to change. That's very true. This becomes a habit, and habits can be changed. Hypnosis is a wonderful tool to guide people in making the changes they want easily and quickly. In a study in American Health magazine, hypnosis and hypnotherapy have a 93% success rate compared with other methods of therapy. I didn't know that. Fascinating. So welcome, and tell us something about you we wouldn't guess from reading your bio or your website or any of that. So,
Okay, so I learned how to, when my kids were like 10,
yep.
I learned how to pogo. And I was in a competition with my friend. And so she got a pogo stick, I got a pogo stick, and we kept on challenging each other. And finally I said, I can pogo 1,000 times. She goes, oh my gosh, okay. And then she did more than me. Then I said, you know what? I can pogo with no hands. She goes, you cannot. I go, yes, I can. So I not only pogo with no hand, I learned how to pogo and jump rope at the same time.
Oh my God.
Now, I occasionally can pull it out and do a few pogos and even get a few jump ropes in. Not as many as what I used to, but I'm still able to do it. So
that's hilarious and
that's my claim to fame.
Very talented, very talented. I love it. I would never even, it wouldn't even occur to me to do that. So that's cool. You'd win that competition hands down. So tell me, Renee, how you've been doing hypnosis now for 14 years, right?
Right.
Okay. How did you come to hypnosis? What was your journey that brought you to that?
Yeah. So back in the 90s, I went to a hypnotist to quit smoking. And it was so retro to go to a hypnotist then. It might still be retro, but then it was like really retro. So I went to a woman and I was in her office for maybe 20 minutes. And she asked me what I didn't like to eat. And I said I didn't like mushrooms. And so she said that cigarettes would taste like mushrooms. And so I went out to my car, had cigarettes in my car, and lit up a cigarette and smoked it and said, doesn't taste like a mushroom. And I was very discouraged by that. So I continued to smoke for like another 3 months. And then I went to another hypnotist because I really, really believed in everything that I was reading that, it would work for me. So I went to another hypnotist and he explained everything to me about the subconscious mind and how it works and how this was going to work and how he had worked with so many people before. And he just went on and talked like forever, explaining all this to me. And when I left there, I did not smoke and I have not smoked since. And that was in 1992.
Wow. Okay. So the question that immediately brings up in my mind is how much of it then is the belief in the process versus the actual functionality of the process? Because she didn't get you to believe in what was going to happen, and he did. So was
Right.
that
And that's
made a difference?
well, the thing was is that first of all, I did believe in the process, but when I went to her, she didn't explain. I mean, it was like I kind of knew kind of wasn't sure, but yet she didn't explain anything to me. And I felt like I was kind of like rushed in, rushed out. And I thought, well, that's goofy. Why would a cigarette taste like a mushroom? I mean, it was like it didn't make a lot of sense to me. And yet when I talked to him and he said, this is what we're going to do. The subconscious mind, this is how it works. You're programmed right now that you're a smoker. I'm going to program you that you're a non-smoker. We're going to put this into your subconscious mind. I mean, he explained everything to me. And when I left there, because I just felt so good about knowing how my mind worked and what he was doing and how he was doing the whole thing, that I think that's why it worked. Yes. And I think belief is a big thing about a lot of things for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. So what's your why? Why do you do the work that you do? So tell me a little bit more about your purpose in life.
Um, I I think my whole
Nice
life
light question
I
to ask.
what's that?
I said, I know, nice light questions that we discuss
Yeah,
on
really.
podcast.
So I was a young mom with twins, a teenage mom with twins, and divorced early, and then just had to go to work every day, and had to work two jobs, and just had to. I didn't like get to. And I think as I continued on, it was like I saw other people that got to. I mean, it sounds really, it was like all that have to stuff. I have to work hard. I have to do this. I have to do this. And I
Mhm.
finally got to the point that I didn't want to do the have tos. When I saw how hypnosis worked for me to quit smoking, it was like that was like my turning point. I thought, oh my gosh, look at how this man helped me. Look at how just by him talking to me, just by him like giving me some suggestions, I quit doing something that I knew that I needed to quit doing. And so then I started to read more about hypnosis, positive mental attitude, all this stuff that I did not have. I
Mm.
truly didn't have it. I led very negative life with the hard word. That's going to be hard. I can't do that. Um, so I took that word out of my vocabulary. But I think that was my turning point right there. And I think that once I saw how much he helped me, and then I saw how much hypnosis could help people, then I wanted to do that. But it wasn't until 14 years ago that I finally, well, 15 years ago, that I finally, took some classes. And it was only because I found a group of people that believed a lot of the same things that I believed. So when I would talk about, like positive mental attitude and Shirley MacLaine, and there were people in it that were hypnotists, there were people that were healers, there were people in this group that I thought, oh my gosh, I don't even belong here.
Yeah.
But I started to know that some of the things that I thought weren't just crazy things, they were actual things, and other people believed it too. And
Mhm.
so I think that was my turning point. And I think that was when I realized that I could support people to make changes, and not just like smoking, but I mean like really some critical changes in just their thinking, their feelings, their emotions, and how doing a hypnosis session, you can guide them and support them in making those changes. So yeah.
Well, and so why do you still do this work? Because, you're not a spring chicken, but so is it that it's fascinating? Is it that you need to, that you want to? What motivates you now to do it?
And I think that it is fascinating. And I also do this because it's a job for me, but I don't look at it as a job. I look at it as like, like, well, maybe I look at it as a fun job, a fun
Okay.
job,
Yeah.
and the people that I get to meet, unbelievable, unbelievable, the people that I get to meet and the stories that they tell me.
Mhm.
And, I always tell them that their stories are confidential, but I still talk about some of their stories if I don't think that they're going to know that I'm talking particularly about them. But I
Right.
mean, like helping a lady drive over a bridge after 20 years of not being able to drive over a bridge, you
Mm.
know, um, like I'm working with a girl now where, she's going through a difficult time because her husband passed away recently and she's got a young child. And but you would think, well, how can hypnosis help that? Well, hypnosis can help in so many ways that people don't even give it an opportunity to even look at it, how it can help. And
Mhm.
then there's so many people with stress and anxiety. And it's like they have a couple of sessions with me and they say, oh my gosh, I was looking forward to the session. I have to tell you about this. And then this happened to me and that happened to me. And it's like, it's exciting for me. I'm working with somebody that's a writer. She's got, like just a writer block. I mean, just I I'm trying to think off the top of my head, all these other exciting. I mean, I think they're all exciting though. I get excited when people make the changes
Mhm.
because I just want them to succeed and make these changes. And I sometimes I think that I get more of a benefit out of it by seeing that than they do by actually making the changes.
Having the breakthrough. I know, as a coach or a therapist, I think a lot of people don't realize the intrinsic benefits of the work that we do. When we get to see those ahas and those breakthroughs, it truly makes me feel like I matter, which is a big part of my driver. It's part of my why, is that, I always wanted to get that I mattered. And so my why is I want you to get that you matter and live like you do. And I think a lot of what we do comes out of what we wanted for ourselves and for others in the world. So tell me a little bit more about hypnosis and how people can understand it if it's not something that they're aware of or have encountered before.
So the way that I like to explain it is that, we've got thousands of neural pathways in our brain, thousands of them. It's everything that we've ever read, heard, saw, done, habits, all of our habits.
Mhm.
And, sometimes people will go, well, if I don't remember something, that it's not there anymore. I go, no, it's there. It's in a file in the back of your brain. So what happens is that we've got the subconscious mind that is the controller of everything, and it's um, that program that's running in the background, that
Mhm.
computer software program that's running in the background. That's what's in your subconscious mind. And so we do something, and then we go, why do I keep on doing that? And it's because it's programmed in there. So now somebody will say to me, so then you take that program out. I go, no, I can't take any programs out, but I can start a new program. And that's what hypnosis is. I look at it as a new neural pathway. It's another pathway that you can go on. And so take a smoker. They come to me, they're a smoker. And so now I put them on the pathway that they're a non-smoker. And it sounds simple, but it is really that simple. If somebody is full of anxiety and stress, I put them on the pathway that they're calm, that they can handle things, and just to change and give them a new pathway. Now, what happens is that one pathway that they're on that I start that new program with, sometimes they fall off that pathway. Sometimes it's good to reinforce that pathway and to do like a couple of sessions instead of just one. Think about this: if they've done it for 40 years, 50 years, it's like 30 years. It's like just one session sometimes doesn't get that pathway firm enough so that they're going to stay on that pathway.
Mm. So it's not so much overwriting the old file, it's creating a new file and making that stronger or more
Yes.
accessible, easily accessible. Interesting, because I thought it was kind of an overwriting the old file or scratching that record and destroying the old file, but it's not. And so then yeah, they would have to really reinforce that. Don't they have to reinforce it for as long as the original file was created? Like if you've had a habit for 30 years, can you really change that in 2 or 3 sessions?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people, I'm still amazed. I truly am still amazed. I mean, I amazed myself when I quit smoking, and I'm amazed when people, all right, so let me give the example of the lady driving over the bridge. So this lady wanted to be able to drive over the bridge because her daughter lived on the other side of the bridge, and her daughter was going to have a baby. And so what she would do is she would drive up to the bridge and she would call an Uber and then have the Uber driver over the bridge. And her daughter would get so mad at her when she would do this. She'd go, Mom, don't do this. She goes, no, I don't want to bother you. You're pregnant and I don't want to be a pain in the neck. And then she goes, well, what's going to happen when the baby comes? She goes, yeah, I don't know. So that's why she said, I have to drive over the bridge. And the reason that she couldn't drive over the bridge is because 20 years before, they were on top of the bridge and there was construction and they were directing her to go a certain way. And she thought that she was going in the way that they were directing her, but she was not. She almost got into a major accident. So it wasn't only that she couldn't drive over a bridge, but anytime she was in a car with somebody, she would tense up. Her whole body would tense up. So think about this. You've got this thing that for 20 years, every time you get near a bridge, you panic. I mean, what does that do to your body? You
Mhm.
know? So anyway, she came to my house. We did a session. She said Saturday morning, she felt so good after the session. She said Saturday morning she was going to drive over the bridge. And Saturday morning it was icy. And she said, I just couldn't do it. So I called her, like later in the week and said, "So how'd it go?" And she goes, "No, I didn't do it." She goes, "But I felt so good. I know that I can do this. So can we please do one more session?" So I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So we did one more session that Saturday. She
Hmm.
drove over the bridge. She pulled up in front of her daughters. She goes, "I wasn't even nervous." She pulled up in front of her daughters, and her daughter goes, "Who's hiding in your car? I know you didn't drive over the bridge by yourself." She goes, "No, I did. I did. I drove over the bridge by myself." And she goes, "Okay. So like what all of a sudden changed?" She goes, "Well, I went to a hypnotist." She said her daughter really laughed then and laughed and laughed and laughed. "I know you didn't go to a hypnotist. You did not." So, so then they had to do the same thing with the son, her brother, he came over the next day. They went through the whole thing and he was like hysterically laughing about the fact that she went to a hypnotist. So it's like I look at that and I think to myself, for 20 years, she reprogrammed herself that she was going to panic every time she got near a bridge, on a bridge, even the thought of driving over the bridge. She was with anybody else driving over the bridge. And how can 2 sessions change that? Our minds are powerful. And I think if we truly want something, we can do it. We just need that little bit of help, that little bit of boost, to get us to go on that pathway.
Exactly. Well, that's very cool. So, how long do you think you're going to be doing this work?
Oh, I don't know. Oh my gosh, I've been doing it for 14 years. I don't know. Another, 14 years. I don't know. I never really even thought about that.
So no plans to retire.
No,
Well,
no.
there's so many people I talk to now that retirement is not even kind of in their vocabulary. They may slow down, or they may do something else, or they may, go travel as they do it, or whatever. But they don't think of retirement like they used to. And a lot of it is that they just love what they do. A lot of it is that we're living longer and we need more money. So they continue to work so they can do that. um is it mostly just that it's really fun for you to do the work? Because it really looks like you enjoy, and you light up when you talk about your clients and the results they're getting. So is
Yeah, yeah. I really do look at it as fun, without a doubt. Without
yeah,
a doubt. And helping people and guiding people too. Because I come along, around some sad stories and things.
yeah,
And um, one of the things that I, like somebody will come to me and they'll start to tell me a lot about their past. And it's not like I don't care or I don't have any empathy or I don't want to know about their past, but in my mind, I know that they've already gone over this same thing that's bothering them thousands of times. And they've told all of their friends and family, and they've just, had a difficult time with it. And so why would I want to take them back, back, back and have them go over it, over it, over it, over it, over it? So a lot of times I do hear a little bit about what's going on, but for the most part, I mean, my first thing is, what do you want to change? What does that look like? How are you going to feel when you make the change? It's like, I want to move them forward right away, right
right,
away. I don't want to go back into a lot of the past stuff. And like I said, I know I do have to know some of that. And I know the past is a big part of things, but at
right.
the same time, they want to move forward. That's all people really want to do. They just want to move forward and have their life be the way that they want it to be.
Well, a lot of times when I'm working with my coaching clients, basically, I think it comes down to as simple as we've been telling sucky stories that don't serve us. So we might as well tell a better story, because we're making it all up anyways. Whatever the story is about what happened, there was what happened, and then there's the story we tell about it. And often those stories are not very resourceful or life-giving, or don't help us be more effective. So we just need to tell a better story about it. So tell us, what are some of the components of change? Because you mentioned some of the questions that you ask. So when you take someone through a change process, which is essentially what hypnosis is, what are some of the steps and questions that people need to think about and ask themselves when they want to change?
Yeah. So the very first thing is, what do you want to change? Because sometimes people aren't even sure what that is. You
Mhm.
know, they know what they don't want, and they'll say, "Well, I don't want this, and I don't want this, and I don't want this, and I don't want this." I go, "No, well, what do you want?
Right.
What do you, what does that look like?" And then, and then I'll say, "Okay, what are your benefits to making this change?" So it's not only what it looks like and what you're going to feel like when you make this change, because the feeling is the big thing that pushes you forward, and the benefits is what push you forward. So those are the questions that I kind of go through.
Mhm.
I'm going to give you an example real quick. So I had a gentleman come here to quit smoking,
Mhm.
came um, for a smoking session. And when it got to the benefits, I go, so what are your benefits to quit smoking? He goes, well, when I leave here, I'm going to buy a truck. I go, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, my wife said that if I quit smoking, I spend, like $400 a month or more on cigarettes, that I could buy a truck. He goes, I've already got it picked out. I'm going to buy the truck. I went, okay. So a week later, I called him just to see how he was doing. And he's going, yeah, I quit smoking. He goes, my wife was really surprised when I came home with the truck. And he said, but because I didn't tell her, but I said, no, I quit smoking. I went to a hypnotist. And she goes, okay, fine, you better, because we're not paying for both here. We don't have the funds. He said, but I want to tell you, not only did I get to the truck, he goes, I feel better.
Mm.
He goes, I just feel so much better. And he goes, and I know that, I mean, I got young kids. I mean, I'm setting a good example now for them. So I think that when we look at the benefits, so I look at hypnosis as the subconscious mind, three things: pictures and color. If you can picture it,
Mhm.
and put the color in, pictures and color, that you're doing it now, and feelings and emotions, your driving force. And along with the feelings and emotions are the benefits. So if you can get all three of those things together, then you can make the changes. So I'll say to people, think about in your life, like what you accomplished, you
Mhm.
know, whether it was maybe a degree in school, or maybe it was a job, or maybe it was, some kind of musical show that you were in, whatever it is. Think
Mhm.
about the things that you accomplished and think that you had all those driving forces. You could picture that you were doing it. You could picture that you were doing it now, what it looked like,
Mhm.
and you had the feelings and emotions and the drive. I want to feel accomplished. I want to feel, great. I want to feel proud of myself, whatever those feelings and emotions are.
Mhm. Okay, so I'm taking notes as we're talking here. So what do you want? Not what don't you want, but what do you want? What do you and specificity, how does that look? How does that feel? How do you know that you have that? What's the, measure of that? And then what are the benefits and the feelings of that change? So really getting clear with pictures and colors, with it being current in the now, not someday when, and really fleshing out those emotions and benefits so that they're very strong and compelling for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And
So
then
then,
what do you do?
okay. So then what we do is we do a relaxation,
Mhm.
and people think that have never been hypnotized before. They don't, first of all, they don't know what to expect.
Mhm.
Um, but the relaxation puts the person into theta. So kind of like right before you fall asleep. And
Mhm.
right before you fall asleep is that it's the I don't I don't know exactly what hearse you're in, because there's different hearses based on, like if we're awake, if we're in alpha, and if we're in theta, and then we're in delta when we're sleeping. So right before you fall asleep is theta. That's when your subconscious mind is most suggestible. So that's why we do the relaxation. So I do the relaxation, give them lots of confidence builders, and then I read back to them exactly what they told me that they want in
Mhm.
their own words to their subconscious mind. And that's why I think that all the magic happens, is because of that. You know, they hear exactly what they want in their own words, and their subconscious mind goes, "Okay, fine, that's what they want. Then that's what we'll do."
Okay. And what do you do with people like me who are, control freaks and don't think I can be hypnotized and generally kind of resistant to surrender of any kind? What can you do with people like that, or can you? Because I may even want to be hypnotized and I still can't quite let go of control, and so it hasn't worked for me when I've.
Yeah. So I do classes on I do meditation classes along with for groups, and I do group hypnosis classes and individual classes, and I show people the similarities between meditation and hypnosis, and I think sometimes that takes some of that fear away of losing control, because in meditation you're just in a relaxed state. You can especially like in a guided meditation, you're going to hear how to relax your body, and in hypnosis you're going to hear how to relax your body. And then in a guided meditation, you're going to get suggestions. Either you're going to go on a journey, or you're going to get some suggestions about, that something is wonderful or positive. And in hypnosis, you're going to get the same thing. You're going to now get to that relaxed state, which is theta. And
Mhm.
now you're going to get those positive suggestions. And I think sometimes when people realize that the similarities between hypnosis and meditation are very, very much the same, that then they can maybe let go of some of that fear of losing control.
Well, and I think some of the things that some people have associated with hypnosis, I know I do, is having seen stage hypnosis shows where people cluck like a chicken or try to kiss the person beside them or whatever. It's kind of like I look at that and think, how can they be in a state where they would do that? Because I am so, conscious of being conscious. And so how does that work? How do people get to that
Yeah.
state where they can be uninhibited and be so suggestible?
And this is what I want to say is that in most cases, the the stage hypnosis people, which I know a lot of them, they can read people really well.
Mhm,
And most of the time too, when somebody raises their hand to be hypnotized up on a stage, they don't have a lot of inhibitions.
mhm,
So they're gonna, I mean, they're really doing it for fun. I mean, and it's not like the hypnotist knows them or anything. They just think, well, I'm just gonna do that. That's like goofy. I've seen that how many times, and all their friends are going, yeah, 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 go ahead, do that. And so I think that's where a lot of that comes in, and that's why it's possible, because I think somebody that's really shy is not going to raise their hand and
mhm.
go up on the stage and then do those things.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. And then they're just given those suggestions, to do those crazy things, and they've already got in their mind that, oh yeah, this will be fun.
Okay. So they associate it with fun. And so can people hypnotize themselves, or does it always require another person?
And I say yes to that. Um, Again, it's very similar to meditation.
Okay.
So now if you can relax by yourself and just let go and say, I'm just going to sit here and meditate, which some people can, some people cannot, but just absolutely relax. It's the same thing with self hypnosis. You can absolutely relax. And you might want to give yourself, you already know the suggestions that you want to give yourself.
Mhm.
Why do I keep on doing that? I want to stop doing that. Okay, let me relax. Let me feel like I'm going to go into a meditative state and let me give myself those suggestions, maybe even write them down or even record them and listen to your own voice
Mm,
saying those things back to you when you're in a relaxed state.
that makes sense. Easy to do on your cell phone as well. And so what do you see for like your own future? What kinds of things are you excited about doing in your business and outside of your business? What's got you excited about the future?
Yeah, so I have like registered myself for some, other speaking gigs, and I did the Body Mind Spirit Expo in North Lake in October and then in March, and now they're coming closer to me in Tinley Park, and that's going to be in June. So I'll be doing a class on hypnosis there at the Body Mind Spirit Expo, and I feel like everybody is just like really open to all the possibilities.
Yeah.
And most of the time there's like 50 people in the class. So that's always kind of a lot of fun too. And then I've got library things where the libraries don't like the word hypnosis so much. So I just say, let's do a meditation class. And I just did one at Orland Library just the other day. I've got another one coming up and a few other libraries. But then I've got this one thing that's coming up and then I've got two things in July that I'm doing at Moraine Valley Community College,
Mm,
where I did not think that they would want to do a hypnosis class at a college, but I am going to be doing that there, not like a continued class, just a one class. And they said, well, let's see how things go. We might put you on the curriculum. And I went, okay, that would be fun.
yeah.
And just working with young kids, because most of the time it's probably going to be younger kids that are going to be there. But then there's this one gig that I've got July 21st, and that's at the Lyric Theater in Blue Island. And the Lyric Theater used to be an old theater. And what they did is they have they have a stage,
Mhm.
and they've just revamped the whole thing. And now they have like small tables in there, some bigger tables. They serve cocktails, hors d'oeuvres. And then they have bands and different groups that come in there. So I went there and I saw an Elvis impersonator there. And I said to the person that was in charge of events, because I was introduced to him, I said, did you ever think about doing like a um, hypnosis and maybe something, something else metaphysical along with that? And he's gone, you mean like a fun show? And I go, no, 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 like a real show, like explain to people what hypnosis really is,
Uh,
and even then do a group hypnosis and let them experience that. I said, and then I've got a friend who is a medium, and she could do a gallery reading for the second hour. And he goes, oh, I don't know if people would go along with any of this stuff. And he said, okay. So he goes, let me check, let me check. And he kept on saying that he was going to check with the owner. He was going to check with different people when they had, and I constantly call, not constantly, but call every couple of months and see how things were going. He'd always take my call. He goes, they're just not sure if this will work or not. But this is what I did. I make caramel brownies. And one day I made a whole thing of caramel brownies. I called to see if he was there. They said no. I said, can I drop something off for him? They said yes. I brought caramel brownies in, and I brought in a phony flyer of what it would look like for us to do the show there. And he looked at it and he said, the very next day I get a call from him and he goes, okay, you didn't have to go to those lengths. I go, no, I think I did. And he goes, okay, you're in. Can you do July 21st? And I go, yeah, let me just check. Let me just check with the other girl and see if she can. So
yeah.
we're doing this show there. It's in the middle of the afternoon, in the middle of the summer, on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh my
So I
goodness.
don't know how many people will come, but we'll see 200 people. So I don't know how many people will come, but we'll see. We'll see what
Well,
happens.
he
So I'm
certainly
excited
did.
about that.
He didn't really, that's awesome, and he didn't really set you up for success with that time slot, but if you market the heck out of it, then you'll surprise him and you, and that'll be awesome. I
Yeah.
love the moral behind the story of be intrepid, be persistent, and be creative if you want to get something to happen and move. I love that. And with any of you who are listening to this who are thinking of doing more speaking, sometimes you do need to go to those lengths to get people's attention, because a lot of people are coming back out of the speaking, kind of that all shut down, in-person speaking during COVID, and it's starting to come back and boot back up. And so now everybody, all that pent up supply is now coming to the forefront. So it's noisy out there. So you do have to go the extra mile to get seen and heard and to get your point across and be successful. So congrats on that. I love that. That's a great story. So what would you tell someone, perhaps a woman in her 50s or 60s, who's thinking of going into some new field? Perhaps they want to go into coaching or maybe hypnosis or something like that. They want to go into a new career, but maybe thinking, oh, it's too late, I'm too old, whatever that, stories may be. What would you tell them?
Well, first of all, I don't know if I've got one here. I've got these little stickers that say possibilitarian. I believe that our minds are powerful,
Yeah.
and that we just, as long as we just keep on growing and learning, I do have one here. Of
Oh,
course, it's probably backwards. It says possibilitarian. It's
yeah.
a heart. So, so I mean, I just think that we have to give ourselves that credit. We have to. So the word that I was saying that I took out of my vocabulary was hard.
Mm.
And every time something came across that I had to do that was different, I would say that's hard. I can't do that. And I did that my whole life. And finally, it was, like probably 15 years ago that I said I have to stop using that word. And so now I say things like, I'm going to ease into this. I'm going to take this step by step. And somebody said to me, so then what happens when something is hard? Then you're just ignoring it. And I go, no, I say it's not going to be so easy. So my mind will still go to easy. Or this is not going to be easy. My mind's still going to go to easy. It's not going to go to those other words. So I like to even when I put the word not in front of something, I want to make sure it's like, well, that's not so good. I
Mm.
don't want to say that's bad because my mind's going to go to that or that, whatever.
Yeah.
So I like to change my words around, and I've learned to do that. And I think that makes a big difference too. And I think for somebody in that position, I think sometimes just changing our mindset a little bit, changing our words. And I always say too, sometimes you can change the teeniest, tiniest thing, and it'll make the biggest difference in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you wish you knew when you started your business? Were you an employee before that? What was your journey before you started your business?
Yeah. So I was a numbers person. So I worked at a place where we packaged and shipped books, and I did all the billing. I worked downtown for an accounting firm, and I set up all the different accounts. Gosh, this was back in the 80s and 90s when computers were first coming in. And then I started to work for a mortgage company. I worked doing mortgages for 20 years. So I was still doing mortgages when I became a certified hypnotherapist, but I didn't tell anybody. So I was a closet hypnotherapist because,
Well, get clients that way.
right, I know it was really very difficult. I mean, my family and friends knew, but I couldn't really put it out there too much because I could just hear my bosses saying, "So what are you hypnotizing people into doing mortgage loans with you?" And so I thought, well, I can't do that. So I continued to do mortgage loans for a while. And then the industry this was like, 2007, 8, that things started to kind of fall apart. And I just started to say, you know what, I just don't know if I want to keep on doing this. I've been doing it for 20 years. And look at, I've got this wonderful, hypnosis information that I just want to put out to the world. And so then I just stopped doing that and started, you know, and on top of it, I was in the chamber at the time. And I was like, it was like the year before I was going to be president in the chamber because you kind of just move up the ranks. And I'm going to tell you, the chamber was like, "What are you doing? You're not doing mortgage loans anymore. You're doing what? You're." So I don't know if they thought I just read a book and thought I'm just going to put that on a business card or what. I mean, I took all the classes and did all the stuff, but because I was so secretive about it, nobody really knew.
So you were a closet hypnotist for a long time.
Yeah.
What allowed you to come out? What shifted so that because there are a lot of people who do things that others may not understand, may not get. Many entrepreneurs live with people who think they're crazy because where our society says, go to school, get a job, get married, retire, die. That's basically the path, right?
Right.
And so what allowed you to make the shift and really step into owning who you were and what you were committed to?
I think there was a couple of groups that I joined. I joined this one group that we met the first Sunday of the month, and there was 30 to 50 hypnotists in this group. And literally, Larry Garrett is his name, and he had groups there every Sunday, never missed a Sunday for 20 years up until when COVID came. Never missed a first Sunday of the month. And I think just hanging around with those people and seeing all the possibilities and seeing all the wonderful things that they were doing and getting information from them and kind of guidance from them and just, suggestions and ideas. Because I think before that in my life, when I came up with all these ideas and read all these books and stuff, I had no one to talk to about it. And if somebody saw one of these books, they would go, "What book are you reading?" "Well, that's weird stuff." And then I kind of back off from it, go, "Yeah, this is weird stuff." So I think sometimes that group, just that group kind of pushing you with their ideas, and letting you know that the things that you're doing, you're on the right path. That makes a world of difference.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever read Change or Die by Alan Deutschman, but it's a book about how people can change. And he's done research with 3 different groups, recidivists, so people who repeat offenders, but extreme cases, the morbidly obese, and quadruple bypass patients. I was going to say victims, patients. And all 3 of these demographics were very serious cases and were literally told, if you do not change, you will die. What percentage do you think changed? So they're told, if you don't change, you're going to die. What percentage do you think changed, Renee?
40%.
Oh, see, you're an optimistic woman. 10%. So that means 9 people would rather die than change. And so, we're talking today about how do you actually change? And one of the things he said just underscores what the point you just made, that there's 3 R's to change: relate, reframe, and repeat. And relate is you have to be around people who get you, who understand you, support you, encourage you. Because if you're with people that I call it, see you through old eyes, see you as who you have been, not who you're becoming, then it's really hard to change, because you're kind of sucked into that vortex of who you were rather than being encouraged to step into the new things. And so you have to have people who get you and support you in that. So it's brilliant that you called in that group. And then reframe, which is basically what you're talking about in terms of reframing how we look at things, changing the mind, the perspective that we look at it. What do we want instead of what don't we want? How are we going to frame that in our language and in our thinking? So that's the second R that was really important. And then repeat, that like any habit, it has to be repeated and reinforced. So using tools like hypnosis, using tools like EFT and other things like that that can really help with change, really reinforces and helps you to repeat that so that your body, your neural pathways, your psyche, all of you gets that thing that you're changing and becoming. So it's a really interesting book, Change or Die. Well, it's actually not an interesting book. It's fairly dry academic read because he's a researcher, but it's interesting in the when you distill it down and get the points. It's kind of an interesting thing. And when I work with people, if those components aren't there, they don't change. And it really sounds like a lot of what you work with people on is reinforcing those three components for them and helping them with that aspect of changing. So that those people that are thinking of moving into something new, into this new career, perhaps have this, real debilitating fear. I can't do that. It's too hard. It's, all of those things that we grow up with and think for a long time. Like you said, you lived with hard for a long time. And I certainly grew up with the belief that my value comes from doing the hard things. So therefore, everything has to be hard for me for me to be valuable. It's a sucky belief. That one I've been working on. So because it's not helpful. What would you say to these people that because I've asked before, but just in a slightly different way, that are filled with fear? What's the thing you tell yourself when you're filled with fear about something?
So one of the things that I learned was that there's two emotions and all the other emotions are under it. And so there's fear and there's love. And so everything that's negative is under fear and everything that's positive is under love. So I look at fear now differently because I look at it, okay, if it's just one of those negative emotions and maybe I can change that. Maybe it's not this fear that I have in my mind of, like, and I don't know what it is. Is the fear of failure? Is it a fear of there's so many different ways that fear can go, but fear is that negative thing. So now if you can break that down and say, so what is the fear? Is it fear of failure? Is it a fear that you can't learn? Is it a fear of, what is that actual fear? And I think when you can pinpoint what that fear is, then I think you can kind of move beyond it. And if you look at it, it's just a negative emotion. It's just like one negative emotion. It's not like a whole big giant thing, and then you can kind of move in that direction. At least that's what I mean. I've talked to people about fear and love and what those two things are and what all the emotions are that are underneath them. And I think when we look at something too and we say just one thing or just for this 1 minute or just for this one day or just for this 1 week, the just for kind of lets our subconscious mind say, oh, okay, it doesn't sound so overwhelming. I don't have to do it for just for today.
Yeah.
I only have to do it just for tonight. I only have to do it just for this week, but then you start to form the habits because you're doing the just fors, the just fors, the just fors.
Yeah. That's great. That's a brilliant strategy. And I think it's really, like you said, I encountered there's only two states, fear or love, in the Course in Miracles, and certainly think it's very true. And like you said at the very beginning, it's shifting from that perspective of what I don't want and the focus on the fear in this case to what do I want and focusing on love. A lot of times I'll use the phrase, what would love do here, to shift my thinking out of
Oh, that's nice.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I wrote down some of the things that some of the gems that you've put out there too.
oh, thank you. I love swapping gems. So how can people find you and get in touch with you? And do you work with people remotely or do they have to be with you physically?
No, I do many, many Zoom sessions, and I'm
Okay.
an early bird. So like even This morning I had somebody at 6 o'clock. And yesterday I had somebody at 6. And then tomorrow I've got somebody at 7:30. So it's
Oh,
not like they have to be early birds like me, but I do a lot of Zooms like early birds, and then people can just go on with their day, you know. So I during COVID, I did all Zoom. I mean, literally for 2 years, everybody was Zoom.
yeah.
And now people, some people say, "Oh no, I want to come to your house," and then all of a sudden they go, "Oh my gosh, I got to drive 20 minutes there, and then 20 minutes back home, and then the time for the session." And you know, so a few people have done a session here, and then they've done some on Zoom, and they go, "Oh my God, it's the same thing. It's absolutely the same thing, and I don't have to like do that drive."
Yeah.
So yeah, so I do both. Um,
Okay, awesome. So how do people find you?
Okay, so the best place is either by email or by my cell phone. So my cell phone is 312
Mhm.
203 3185.
Okay.
And
And
then
go ahead.
uh,
And you've got
and
a
my email is R Oswald. So it's ROSWALD 728 at sbcglobal.net.
okay.
Now I
So
do have a website, and the website is right now only got like a landing. It's just got a landing page on it for right now. And so what it's got is 4 tools to make changes easily and quickly in your life. And
mhm,
that's my name. It's reneeoswald.com.
okay. And you've got a special offer for people. So tell us about that.
Sure. So what I've got is normally a session is $150, and I've got a package of three. That package of three, you can buy two and get one free.
Mhm.
So if you buy 2 sessions, that would be $300, and then you get one free.
Okay, awesome. And so how do they avail themselves of that? They email you or phone you and tell you they heard you on this podcast?
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes.
All right. And you also do complimentary 15-minute consultations with people. Is
Yes,
that
I do. I do. So if anybody wants to just call and ask me some questions to figure out if we're a good fit, or just they have some questions about hypnosis, I'll be glad to answer that for them.
all right? And you can also bring your Reiki work and your Akashic record reading and other things that you do to your session. So you have lots of different kinds of modalities that you can help people with. So do reach out to her. So again, that email is ROSWALD728 at S as in Sam, B as in boy, C as in Charlie, global.net. Or you can reach out to her at her website, reneeoswald.com, but it's a placeholder right now, but you can still get in touch with her there. So thank you so much for being here, Renee. Thank you for being a champion and an advocate for hashtag it's never too late, or hashtag not done by a long shot. Uh, and I love how much you love what you do. For those of you who are hearing the podcast but couldn't see it, it is up on our YouTube channel, or will be. So you can go and see our conversation for those of you who are more visual. But truly, when you talk about the work that you do and the results that you get and the people that you're supporting, you really do light up. And I think that that's possible for all of us to find work that is meaningful for us, that is our way to contribute and be the difference that only we can be. And I love that you are an advocate for that for other people and for really helping them get past whatever the blocks are that are keeping them from moving forward and stepping into that. So if you've got some kind of block going on, get support, get a coach, talk to Renee, get a hypnotherapy session, get a therapist if you think that's what you need, get support because pitter patter, people, we got a lot to do and there's no time like right now to get it done. So get help with getting over whatever is getting in your way so that you too can be the difference that only you can be. Thank you, Renee. What's one last thing you'd like,
Yes.
guys, you'd like to leave everyone with?
Ah, just give yourself credit. We don't give ourselves credit for when we make changes or when we do things. And when you give yourself credit and you pat yourself on the back, that will move you forward. Just that alone will move you forward. So give yourself credit for all the wonderful things that you're doing.
Awesome. Love
And
that.
thank you. And I'm giving you lots of credit too. I love this. I really enjoyed myself. I had a wonderful time today, and I wrote down some of your wonderful gems too. So thank you, Janet.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, please do subscribe to the channel. Please pass it on to other people. We would love that. Leave comments if you have questions for Renee, if you have questions for me, if you have suggestions for people you would like me to interview. If you're someone who would like to be on the show, then please reach out to me on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, pretty much lots of places, but those are the two that I actually look at sometimes. Or you can reach me at Jeanette@bodacity.ca. I think the contact information is in the show notes. By all means, if you think that you are someone who is too inspired to retire, and like Renee, and you have some value that you would love to share with our audience that helps them be too inspired to retire, then I'd love to hear from you and have you on the show. So please reach out, let me know, and we'll have a chat. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, Renee, and have a wonderful and bodacious week, everybody. Bye for now. Thank you for listening. I'd love it if you left a comment and subscribed. And I encourage you to apply one aha from this interview right away so you can turn your wisdom into wealth and your contribution into positive change. Bye for now.